guys, for this video I'm going to introduce to you the social media scorecard, which is a tool that we'll be using to assess the marketing that we've already created. I also want to introduce to you our art folder for Perfect Seed. If you click on this URL, it will take you over to our Google, where, here it is, to our assets folder. And here we have photos and also a video. So I just wanted to introduce the photos to you quickly. You can use these for any of your social media. So as we're going through our assessment of social media, if you notice there's things you're missing or things that you want to create, and since we're not together and can't really create them, you might be able to pull something from our photo archive. So what I'm going to do is just give you a quick overview of what's in the photo archive. So if you feel like you want to use it, you'll know what it is. So this, if I go back, this comes from the Quinoa Photos USA. So those were photographed in the fall at my home with Professor Kepes and Valerie, who works with Landmark Marketing. And we looked at some recipes and preparations of quinoa. And then the other photos I have are quinoa photos from Bolivia. So I'll do a quick intro of both of them so that you understand where they come from, what they are, and you can also use them in your social media if you wish to. So here we go. Quinoa Photos USA, and they're vector files, so you can use them. They integrate pretty well with social media. So this is a quinoa pudding, and it's made with black quinoa, coconut, and mango. There's recipes for these products on our website as well. These are quinoa Kispina pancakes that are made with a hand-ground quinoa, and they are gluten-free, high protein. This is the Kispina quinoa, which is gluten-free and can be hand-ground into a protein-rich flour. This is the black quinoa rice pudding, kind of quinoa pudding that you saw before, except it's still in its dish. And this is made with mango and coconut and black quinoa, quinoa negra. Here we have quinoa negra and a tabbouleh. Okay, here's our quinoa negra. Here's our quinoa negra and tabbouleh being mixed in a bowl. And we actually have a video of that being made. This is a different product. This is called pito. Okay, so this is a toasted ground black quinoa. It's a traditional dish. This is sugar, cinnamon, and then you mix it in with boiled water. And children in the Altiplano drink this every morning for breakfast, and it's highly nutritious. So it's a hand-ground toasted black quinoa, negra. Here I am hand grinding the toasted negra quinoa. Okay, there's the quinoa in the dish. There it is again. There it is again. This is the white quinoa, the Kispina, that's being hand ground. For the Kickstarter, we'll be offering a combination of the grain grinder along with a quantity of quinoa. The grain grinder itself costs about $230, so we'll be offering those two together for maybe $250. Here we are hand toasting the black quinoa so that we can then grind it up and make it into that breakfast drink. It can also be used in protein, like as a protein powder and protein drinks, so it doesn't have to just be prepared in the traditional way in Bolivia, but the black quinoa that's hand ground and toasted can also just be put into a blender drink, and it's a very high source of protein. Here we are again grinding the Kispina quinoa into the flour that we used for pancakes and also for cookies. Okay, we're grinding it. This is a natural sugar that's being chopped up. That was used in the pudding. And here we have the ingredients for the tabbouleh. And here's the black quinoa being washed. Okay, and those are our USA pictures. The other pictures that we have are the Bolivia photos. So if I click on photos, I go to Quinoa Photos Bolivia. Okay, so we kind of picked out the highlights of those, and I'll just show you what those are real quick. What are Melissa's photos? This was, okay. So she was a staff member of ours. So these are just pictures of the salt flats and quinoa. I think I'm just going to remove those from there. Meanwhile, These are the ones you want to be looking at. So these are my photos. You guys can use them anytime you want. This is a windmill that's been purchased with quinoa money. Quinoa grows in a very dry region, and the windmill was able to provide water in water tanks and pump it out into areas where people could grow non-traditional crops, such as onions, potatoes, beans, so they have a supplemental food beside their quinoa. Okay, so the quinoa, they can grow naturally in this environment, but those other vegetables do not grow naturally. This wind turbine that they purchased from Argentina pumps up water and maintains it in tanks, and then they have community gardens. So that was purchased with quinoa money for the community. That's me. That's the sky. That's the Kispina quinoa. So you can see how some of the quinoa is transparent, and that's what makes it different. This is the quinoa that's very sticky. When you grind it up, it works like a flour, and it's gluten-free. That's a way that we work with the women who are illiterate to talk about what does quinoa farming mean and how does it benefit them. Here we have our family working together in the first process of cleaning the quinoa before it goes to the worker-owned factory that does the professional cleaning. And here we have women in a meeting, quinoa farmers. Here we have Megalina, another quinoa farmer, and she's in her field. It's probably about early summer, and you can see the salt flats and volcanoes in the distance, okay, and the quinoa grows at 14,000 feet. Here's two different kinds of quinoa seed heads emerging. They probably have another 3 months of growth, but there's many different varieties of quinoa, and you can see that when it's starting to grow. Here's a quinoa study facility that's in Salinas, the homeland of the quinoa, so you can kind of get a feel of the rocky soil that the quinoa grows in, and that is quinoa growing in front of it. And this is what the quinoa seed often comes in a little bit mixed, and then they have a optical sorter that can sort out the quinoa so that you have pure white, pure black, pure red. Okay, here we have a scarecrow made out of recycled bags. We see the volcano in the background. That's Tunupa, a famous volcano. Here's the quinoa plants, probably about 3 months old. So maybe 4 months old. So they have about another 5 months left of growing. And the scarecrow helps keeps the birds out of the quinoa. Here we see how the quinoa grows. So the rows are sparse. Sometimes quinoa is lost due to frost or hail or drought or the wind blowing the soil over the quinoa seedlings. So you'll always have big spaces of no quinoa growing. About 30% of the quinoa crop does not grow when it's planted. And the farmers know that and they plan for that. So they always plant extra, knowing that not everything is going to come up. And that also helps with the sustainability of the farming. This is organic quinoa. So the troughs here help to capture water. They're always hilling up the soil to help maintain moisture around the plants and also protection from the cold. If there is a frost, this little trough protects the plants from the cold winds blowing across them. It also helps with the bugs aren't able to travel from plant to plant so much because it's not so densely planted. And also it's lighter on the soil because there's not so many nutrients being used. The soil has a lot of nutrients in it, but it's a very delicate soil, so you have to be careful with how aggressively you're planting on it. That's my daughter walking, and that's the town over there of Salinas, which is the quinoa capital. Okay, here we have some quinoa farmers working on a workshop where I was doing a survey with them. So you see the whole family comes out. A lot of the women are in traditional dress, but not everybody. Here we have two quinoa farmers talking to each other in their fields. You can see the different kinds of plants. Some have the red tops, some have the green tops. They still might have white quinoa seeds inside, but there's many different varieties of quinoa, probably about 48 different varieties. There's a quinoa farmer. Here we made a design in the soil. This is that dry rocky soil that the quinoa grows in, and we just used that as a little image. It's an old logo. Here again, we see the mountain-grown quinoa. So this is like 14,000 feet. Um, Vehicles can't come up here, so it's all harvested by hand. This is part of the perfect seed quinoa. We can actually offer a mountain-grown option. That's another thing that we're able to do. Here we have volcanoes again in the distance and the salt flats. Okay, and the salt flats were once an inland sea that dried up. Some people say it was Atlantis. And this coral that you can see in the middle of the salt flats. Here we have llamas, okay, and this is land that's been fallow, so they rotate the fields. It's part of the organic farming, so every 3 years the fields do not get planted. And here we have this white stuff is dried up quinoa stalks that they put out, and they let that compost, and then they mix it in with the soils, and it helps with growing of the plants. They also use the manure from the llamas to fertilize the fields, and that's the only fertilizer that works good in these delicate soils. And every community has herds of llamas that they maintain for the fertilizer and also for the meat and the fur. And the llamas just run free. You can see there's no fences. They just run free, and they can come down. You blow a certain whistle and they'll come down because they know that you'll be giving them water. Otherwise, they just graze free range, and they don't eat the quinoa plants. And here we have one of the farmers hoeing the quinoa. You can see how the soil maintains moisture, even though on top it looks very dry. And they'll hoe the plants again to help protect it from the cold, to help preserve moisture, and also to take out weeds that would be taking moisture away from the plants. Okay, here we have Miguel is cleaning his quinoa again, and he'll do that in the wind. And the wind will separate the chaff, the outside coating from the quinoa from the heaviest seed. You do that on windy days. And here we have Miriam is looking at her quinoa, okay, seeing how well it's growing, and also checking for worms. Worms can eat the tips of the seeds and cause them to, the seed heads not to form properly. And each seed head can grow to be a full pound of quinoa. So they get pretty big. They're about 2 feet big once they get fully grown. Let's see. Here we're going to see a picture of a little girl standing in a quinoa dish that was actually made by the ancient people that lived originally at the salt flats. Let's see if we can go back and get this to come up better. Let's see if I can go back and get that picture. I don't know why we're not seeing that picture. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, so this is how the ancient Incas and pre-Incas actually cleaned their quinoa. So they would put small amounts in these stones and hand grind them with their feet. And these grinding stones are still used by people all over the Andes Mountains. This is a ruin, an old Inca fort that's 5,000 years old. People just take these stones from the fort and use them at their houses. Sometimes they'll then bring them back to the fort, because it's considered respect of the ancestors not to be stealing their things. But these are old rocks that have been used for thousands of years to be able to clean quinoa. All right, and here we have another quinoa family. So that's Miriam and Valeria, and this is Miriam's daughter and little Miguelino. No, who's that? Josue. That's Josue. That's little Josue, and that's her nephew. It's not her kid. She's in college. She's studying to be an agronomist. Mom has quinoa, and the whole family comes and works together. She's in for spring break, helping out with the quinoa. We have a little kid. Here again, we have the quinoa generations. Okay, these are actually, that's her aunt. So, and these are both quinoa growers. So we can see some people are in traditional dress, some people are Western dress, but they all work side by side when it comes to quinoa production. And they're all from the same communities. Okay, and these are more quinoa farmers. That's actually my counterpart, Monica, back here. And she's a doctor of agronomy, works in Chile and Bolivia, and also is from the mountain-grown quinoa region. So that quinoa that we saw growing in the mountains by Miguelina, that's actually her aunt. All right, so we visited her aunt's quinoa production. Okay, here we have other quinoa production, taking a break. Okay, we have full families. So the families will come and have a picnic and spend a day in the quinoa fields working. So weeding or hoeing, doing hand plague removal, like taking the bugs off of the plants. So they'll spend a whole day. It takes over an hour to hike out to where the fields are, hour to hike back in. So this is again during spring break. The whole family is out of school and out working in the quinoa fields, and he's actually the town mayor. Okay, here we have the non-traditional crops. So we have onions, and here's faba beans. There's some quinoa all the way in the back, and I think this is parsley that they have growing, and this is from that water from the windmill. Okay, so that's that special irrigation that comes that they're able to use. They make these community plots and grow other vegetables besides quinoa, and they were able to afford that by investing their quinoa earnings into those windmills. Okay, and actually Monica's father was the one that put that project together. And here's some kids in one of the quinoa towns. Okay, so those are a little bit of the pictures. So I just wanted to show you that. And then one of the other resources that you guys have is, working with Canvas. So this is our Canvas site. And when you go into the Canvas site, it looks like this. And when you scroll down, you'll have that Perfect Seed folder where I've already taken some of these pictures and made ads from it. So you can totally use these pictures in any different way that you want. In your Canva, I believe that you would have, if you go to, let's see, we go into a design here, this one. Okay, when you go into the design, you should be able to go to uploads and see a lot of the elements that I've already uploaded for use in the different campaigns. Okay. So here we have a lot of those quinoa photos you've already seen. Okay, and feel free to upload other ones that you want and create your own ads. Okay. All right, perfect. So I just wanted to introduce those photos to you, introduce some of these initial tools, and then the next piece that we're going to be doing is learning how the worksheet works and then looking at examples of me using the worksheet. Thank you.